if you're Bill Belichick and GM Mike Lombardi, you wanted to finish this current recruiting class in terms of the 2025 class off strong. And they had a really, really good weekend here as they've picked up 5 commits since the weekend, and now at 19 signees and commits for this recruiting class. So we'll kind of go down the list here as, again, 5 new commits for the Tar Heels from the high school ranks. We've talked a lot of transfer portal. We've talked now some 2026 recently, picking up a pair of defensive backs out of California for next class, Jared Curtis here. But we're talking about guys who will be on this team for next year that just committed to the Tar Heels.
Yeah, look, it was a monster weekend for UNC, both with 25 players, which you mentioned, the 2025 kids that are going to be part of the 2025 Tar Heels, part of Bill Belichick's first team, but then also some big-time 26 kids that are at a higher echelon of recruit coming out, top 10 at their position, multiple guys with that pedigree on campus. So just a huge, huge weekend for UNC. But starting with the signees, we've seen, Pete, when you have these coaching transitions late, I don't want to say scrambling, but you're just trying to be resourceful and say, who is somebody who maybe the coach of their team left and they're back on the market. Maybe they were underrated. They're a fast riser and they just didn't get the FBS attention they deserve for whatever reason. Who are the guys that we can add late that for whatever reason are available? There's different reasons they are available that we can get productive players out of really right before the shot clock ends. And we've seen it at these schools. Sometimes those guys that you get in these transition classes, you're not going to have the hit rate, right? Because it's so ad hoc, but you'll often find guys, including guys that maybe the prior stat didn't offer, that end up helping your program and helping your rebuild.
And we'll start here with an example of that at the linebacker spot in Tyler Hauser, who was previously, I should say, headed to Wake Forest. And of course, Dave Clawson stepped down.
Yeah, so we saw 2 guys that fit this profile as far as Wake Forest decommits. We'll get to another one in a second. But, starting with Hauser, we're seeing a picture of what Bill Belichick wants in a linebacker, and we'll go over the other guys in this signing class that he added here late. But they all fit a similar profile linebacker of being big, strong, and physical. Athletic, but not, converted safeties necessarily. These are guys that are big and can get downhill and thump. This is a 6'2", 220-pounder, number 88 linebacker in America, according to the rankings. He's from Sparta, New Jersey. That's that NYC area. Went to Pope John, the 23rd high school, led the team in tackles, 144, had 7 sacks, 14 tackles for loss, took a pick to the house, blocked a punt, and really a better athlete than maybe is obvious watching the film. He moves well, but then you look at the athletic background. He played basketball. He threw the discus, javelin, shot put, long jump, high jump, 100-meter, 110 hurdle, 400-meter. I mean, this guy's basically a decathlete doing everything. You're seeing blocking the punt. So the athleticism's underrated. The size is there, but the power and the strength and the size at linebacker stand out to me. He said he committed to UNC because the prestige of UNC as an institution combined with Coach Belichick is beyond special. That's what he told On3. Clearly, the Belichick impact is being felt. And I like that they're recruiting to a type. Sometimes when you have these scrambles, right, to put together a class, you just take the first thing available and there's no rhyme or reason to what you're doing. Here, they've clearly said, we want bigger linebackers. We want physical guys. We want guys with strength and stopping power. And they've added one of those here with Hauser.
Flipping over to the other side of the ball, taking a look at a guy who is playing the running back spot here is JoJo Troupe, who looks like a nice addition to their roster for next year.
Yeah, this is someone I'm very familiar with here in Florida. He really jumped on my radar as a junior for Berkeley Prep, which is a small school up there in Tampa. They won the state championship last year in 23. Dallas Golden, who I believe is going to Notre Dame, was a big-time player on that team as well. But Troupe had a huge, huge playoff. Also a baseball player. He's got an 8 rating on Perfect Game, outfielder and first baseman. So he has that multi-sport background. But as a running back, highly productive, bowling ball. Kind of reminds me of Davion Gauss, who you have now at North Carolina, another Florida guy, but more of a bowling ball, a little shorter. You see the balance. You see some lateral quicks. again, he's a multi-sport guy, so he's more athletic than maybe he appears body-wise, was committed to Temple, ends up flipping to North Carolina, and he just looks like somebody he's not going to, win track meets necessarily, but he can break long runs because he has great vision, he has great balance, he has great strength, and he's a true running back.
Yeah, bowling ball is a nice way to describe him. You see a stout build, but I mean, he's got a bit of burst, and he's decisive, man. Once he sees it, he's not trying to dance around and make guys miss in the open field necessarily.
Yeah, he doesn't mind contact. Like I said, he's been productive. He's been a winner. I'm surprised that he had to go to the G5 level before UNC came and identified him. I think he is an ACC type back. And I think back to Goss again, state champion, strong, good contact balance, long track record of production. So if you like what you got with Goss, this guy's going to fit right into that committee and give you a similar type of player.
Keeping it moving here. Next up, defensive lineman Nicco Maggio, and this guy's not going to wow you necessarily with his measurables, but just looks like a good football player, hard nosed, and seems like a Belichick sort of guy.
Yeah, you see him lining up nose to nose with that center. You saw Vince Wilfork do this for so many years for the Patriots. Now, Nicco Maggio doesn't have the Vince Wilfork size, but certainly not afraid to mix it up. 6'1", 270. He looks a little bigger than that on film. From Beaufort, Georgia, one of the best programs in the entire country, playing against great teams. You watch his highlights, you see him against Milton, some other top-ranked teams in Georgia. 40 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 6 quarterback hurries this past season, intercepted a pass, 3 deflections, pair of fumbles. Like Hauser, he was a Wake Forest signee, signed in the early signing period, but because Clausen left, that freed him up to sign with other schools despite having signed with Wake Forest. It's one of the NCAA rules when your coach leaves. So he had the freedom to take a step back, reevaluate his recruitment. Belichick comes in and is able to sign this guy. And again, it's just kind of a role. You're not seeing the dancing bear stuff, the 3 technique, just beating the guard with quickness. He's going nose to nose on the center. He's going to push him back as hard as he can. He's going to use his lower body strength, his flexibility in his hands to generate knockback and to plug it up there in the middle. I think it's a system fit and somebody who, again, fits in with this physical kind of run-stopping mindset of these front 7 players you're seeing sign with UNC.
Yeah, without a doubt. It looks like a nice pickup for them. And again, it's all about getting bodies on that defensive line. They lost so much there that you're seeing them take a lot of guys here, and a lot of them have been bigger body types than what you're seeing here. But look, if you can hit on a guy like this with some interior movement ability and quicks, then that can be a big plus.
No question about it. Excited about that fit. And really, I like just the overall direction of getting guys that fit. Don't just get every piece of highly rated guy that hasn't signed yet. Sometimes those guys haven't signed for a reason, right? With Hauser and with this player, with Maggio, the reason they didn't sign is because their coach left. So there's nothing weird about it, and there's nothing wrong with them. It was just a circumstance outside their control, and you at UNC become the beneficiary.
So the next one up here is a player that is down here in South Florida where we are. Not a highly rated player whatsoever. He's an unranked guy, but coming from one of the top programs in the entire country in St. Thomas Aquinas, and that's linebacker Lantz Pascal.
Yeah, and you see this with St. Thomas Aquinas. They have so many guys. They don't play the same. A lot of times you have Division I Power 4 players who don't play that many snaps because they rotate with other Power 5, Power 4 now players. So Pascal's kind of in that mold. He played a ton as a junior at a smaller school, Nova, which is in Davie by where the Dolphins practice. He had a big year there. Transfers now as a senior to Aquinas, which is, in terms of producing NFL players, probably the top program in America. I would say hands down, I think, by the numbers. And just like with Hauser, big physical linebacker, 6'1", 225. You see his strength. Played 12 games this season, 35 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 8 hurries, 2 forced fumbles, and plays both edge. You see him here playing edge, but then also off-ball linebacker. So interesting to see where he ends up playing for Steve Belichick and Bill Belichick in that defense, whether he's an outside backer like a Teddy Bruschi type or like a Willie McGinnis type, or if he's playing inside. I think he probably do both. There you see him getting to the quarterback, but really it's the physicality and strength. You see when he tackles, the guys go backwards. They do not fall forwards. He can wrestle him down. He not what I'd say is a spectacular athlete, but athletic enough, and the physical strength and build is college ready and very, very similar to Hauser, who we just talked about, and then Jack Bauer, who we're going to talk about in a second. This is what Bill Belichick clearly wants out of his linebackers.
So you mentioned Jake Bauer, not Jack Bauer. It's
how many names have I screwed up already?
Listen, we talk about a lot of different programs across the country. It's okay to mess it up every now and then, but this is a guy who plays both sides of the football here. And look, you're taking a lot of highly productive players at the position. You would think that a couple of these guys are bound to hit.
Yeah, and this to me, of all these linebackers, this one is my favorite. And one of the reasons why you see it right here, playing running back, fullback actually, but carrying the ball. Look at that stiff arm and then some speed there to finish the run. When you have the ability to play running back and run the ball as well as linebacker, we talked to a linebacker coach from the G5 level, Pete, a friend of ours, who told us he loves running backs that also play linebacker, because when you're recruiting a linebacker, they play running back. It's the same vision of holes developing, just in reverse, right? You're seeing the holes from the linebacker perspective as opposed to the running back trying to run through them. So you're able to kind of see things before they happen, which you see right here. Look at that. Look at the ability to sift through traffic and diagnose. So you had that, you had the athleticism, you had the balance, all the things it takes to the lateral quickness, all the things it takes to run the ball effectively. And then he translates that to linebacker. You see the athleticism here, another interception. He was committed to Navy. Not sure that Naval Academy has, they're probably pretty upset to lose someone like this in our armed forces. But man, for a football standpoint, getting the call up to the Power 4 level, Navy was a really good team this year. So it's not like they don't know what they're looking for when it comes to football players. But this is someone that gets the call up to the Power 4 level. And I think, again, of all these guys, they all have their strengths. This is the one that gets me the most excited. I could see this guy being a big-time hit, just seeing how he moves at his size.
Yeah, without a doubt. And again, these guys that we just spoke about are 2025 prospects. So they'll be on the team for this next recruiting, for this next season here. But Belichick and his staff were also getting ahead on 2026. Some notable names that were also, visiting Chapel Hill. And again, these are guys who are truly elite for this next class. Johnny Jones from Berkeley Prep in Tampa, which a program that you just referenced, the running back coming out of there. So that's one guy who was big time. Samoti Katoanga, the number 19 defensive lineman in the country out of Southern California. Steve Belichick had a relationship with him from Washington last year. Devon Benjamin, the number 3 safety in the country from Los Angeles. He's someone who Armand Hawkins, I would imagine, has been working on building that relationship with big time. Deuce Gerald's number 5 defensive lineman from the state of Georgia. So, I mean, we continue to go down the list here, and it's elite prospects that we're visiting over the weekend.
Again, look, if you're North Carolina, these are top 10 at their position prospects from all across the country, Los Angeles area, Southern California area, where you've had a lot of success, particularly at defensive back, since signing Coach Mondo out of Washington. But it really starts North Carolina. We talked about Bryce Baker earlier being one of the top prospects in the country out of the state, stays home to play quarterback. How about protecting him with Akini Ogboko? This is the number 4 interior offensive lineman, according to 247 on 3, has him as an offensive tackle from South Garner High School in Durham, North Carolina. Said his time in Chapel Hill was good. What excites him is the future of the program and the NFL regimen and experience they have. So Bill Belichick said he'd sell NFL. That's what he's selling to these young players, along with the fact that they can stay pretty close to home. Of course, you have Xavier Griffin Haynes, who's rumored to be leaning towards UNC, number 11 edge in the country from Rolesville, North Carolina. Said it was great. It was a great meeting with Bill, getting the feel of the new environment. What excites me the most is getting to know one of the greatest head coaches and see him build up a program. So if you can hold the best players in North Carolina, get some of these guys from the West Coast, and maybe, cross the Great Smoky Mountains over to Nashville and get Jared Curtis and bring him back home to Chapel Hill, that'd be pretty impressive.